This is question 2 from exercise 13.6 in Project Maths 2. A supermarket opens at 8 a.m. The histogram shows the distribution of the times employees arrive for work. So we can see this here. We've got the number of employees up along the left and the intervals for the times in which they arrived along the bottom. So the first thing we have to do is got to repeat the following frequency distribution. So we've got to put in the number of employees that arrive between 0720 and 0730. Well, that is 2. Then we've got to get the number of employees that arrive between 0730 and 0740. That's 5. The number between 0740 and 0750 is 8. The number between 0750 and 0800 is 6. The number between 0800 and 0810 is 3. And the number between 0810 and 0820 is 1. So that's the table completed. The next part 2, we're asked how many employees arrived for work that day. Well, the way they work that out is we add up the numbers that we just worked out just there. So 2 plus 5 plus 8 plus 6 plus 3 plus 1. And that's going to be equal to 25. So that's how many employees showed up for work that day. For part 3, we're asked how many employees arrived before 7:50. So before 7:50, if I look at our diagram, it's just along there. So it's the first 3 rectangles on our histogram represent employees showing up to work before 7:50. So that's going to be 2 plus 5 plus 8. So 2 plus 5 plus 8, which gives us 15. So 15 people showed up before 7:50. Now for part 4, we're asked how many employees were definitely late for work. Well, if the supermarket opens at 8, and we have to assume that everybody has to show up for work before the supermarket opens, then any of the rectangles here that show up after 0800, they are going to be late for work. So there's 3 people that showed up between 8 and 8:10, and 1 that showed up between 8:10 and 8:20. So 3 plus 1, which means you get 4 people late for work this day. For part 5, we're asked what is the modal class? In other words, what is the time interval where the most people arrive for work? And that is clearly the tallest of the rectangles here, which is between 0740 and 0750. There. So that's our modal class. For part 6, we're asked what percentage of the employees arrived before 7:40. Well, before 7:40 is going to be everybody to the left of the 7:40 line just here. So there's 5 and 2. So the number of people that showed up before that time is 7. And we're asked what percentage of the employees arrived before that. So we're going to put this number 7 over the total number of employees. So it's 7 over 25. And to convert that to a percentage, we multiply it by 100 over 1. And we will get 28%. Like that. So 28% of the employees arrived before 7:40. Now for part 7 of this question, we're asked what's the maximum number of employees that could have arrived before 7:45. And this one's not too bad, but it requires a little bit of thought on this one. If we look at the tallest rectangle here, that's between 7:40 and 7:50, which means 7:45 is in there somewhere. And it is entirely likely that everybody who showed up between 7:40 and 7:50 did arrive before 7:45. Arriving at 7:42 is still arriving between 7:40 and 7:50. So the whole 8 of those people could have arrived in there. So if we think about this 8 plus this 5 plus this 2 all have arrived before 7:45. So it's entirely possible that 15 employees arrived before 7:45. That would be the maximum number of employees that could have arrived. And for our last part of this question, part 8, we're asked could this data be represented with a bar chart? Realistically, no. Even if we knew the time that every single person arrived for work specifically, there's still not going to be enough data points to actually put a bar chart together, because again, it is entirely likely that they all arrived at completely different times. So for example, the 8 people that arrived between 7:40 and 7:50, they could have all arrived at exactly different times, which means that our bar chart, if we try to put one together, would just be a list of times and a bar that is one section high in each one. So we could not represent that as a bar chart. A histogram makes more sense for this type of thing, especially considering that we're looking at time, which is a continuous measurement and not a discrete measurement. So that's why we couldn't really represent this as a bar chart. And that is that.